You just refer to yourself, oh, I was a little bartender, I was a small bartender,
Right.
you know. How come the attitude is like you're sort of self-deprecating, you sort of put yourself down, you know?
I mean, I'd like to point it out to the way hospitality is built in India.
Do you have to do bartending school, or is it like a requirement? Or
You don't have a hotel management degree, so the next best thing could be a bar diploma of sorts.
the fact that it's a super local, consumer-driven trend thing,
Yes.
as opposed to bartenders dictating trends. But if they're bartenders, they're not locals, they're the ones somewhere else. Hello and welcome back to Bar Talks. This is my third interview in my India special sort of trilogy. But today I've actually got my most exciting guest and somebody I wanted to interview because we've spent most of the time together in the last 5 days. And there's a bunch of stuff I wish that in that moment we'd interviewed when we were spending time together. This is Rohan. Rohan's surname that he will say now that I cannot pronounce properly.
It's called Rohan Matmary.
So Rohan is in charge of the beverage of both Sidecar, which is one of the world's 50 best bars by the time this video comes out, of Cocktails and Dreams Speakeasy, shout out to Tom Cruise, of the catering company and the events company,
And the consulting
company. At the same time, one of the things I learned that India being such a diverse and weird place, there's a lot of more that stuff goes into it, because this gentleman here is from the south and he's actually a Brahmin. And if those of you who know what that means they don't eat meat and they don't drink alcohol. Now, he's a terrible Brahmin because he does both of those things. But more importantly, how long have you been in the industry now?
10 years now.
You're one of the few quite well-traveled bartenders in India,
You
right?
could say that, yes.
Excellent. And so for bartending, when was the first time you left India for bartending, and what was the trip? You know, where did you go?
Right, so during one of my trips to America, and that time I was studying bartending, when I realized that one of the big bars in the global scene was employees only.
Nice,
Right?
EO.
Yes, and...
What year was this?
This is 2012.
Man, EO was rocking it back then.
Exactly, right? I got in touch with Steve and I was like, dude, listen, I'm like a big fan. And of course, I was a student that time, right?
Yeah.
In India, students are like considered there. And of course, considering Steve was kind of the guru of that time, he was there. So for me, it was a great opportunity. He let me speak to him first. And when I spoke to him, I realized that, you know, the industry is big. I went to EO New York, met him, and I was like blown by the way the bars are there and stuff. And in 2017 is when I contacted Steve again, and I said, you know what, I am going to Singapore for the Singapore Cocktail Festival.
And it was already open, of course. The EO Sing.
Yes.
EO Singapore was
I
already
think
open.
it was 2017 or 18, I'm not sure. But yeah, so EO Singapore was open, and that was the closest I could go to. I spoke to Steve, and with all that done, it took me a lot of effort to convince him that, you know, I would like to bartend at your bar for one night. Singapore probably shut on Sundays, most of the bars, so I said, if you want, you can bartend on a Sunday. Right? Now, for a regular bartender, it would be like, oh man, the bar's gonna be shut, who's gonna come? I was like, I get to work at EO, I'm gonna do it. And then Steve, we decided everything, and Steve came back to me, you know, get one cocktail. So I took that cocktail and went to the bar, and I saw Michael D. Callahan behind the bar.
Nice,
right?
Michael was in
And
the
like,
place, yeah.
Yes. I was like, oh man, dude, this guy is the guy who I see on Instagram, right? And also, you would have realized now with the type of ingredients and type of liquor available in India versus what's available in Singapore, it was very difficult for me to, you know, get used to the bar. But I was so excited that I was at EO, and then Steve Schneider walks in.
Oh God.
I was like, oh, this is like...
You're like getting gangbanged by
like orgasm of dreams coming true in one night, right? So
Orgasms and dreams, that's your next bar.
So yeah, I mean, Steve walks in and I'm like, hey, are you Rohan? I'm like, yeah, I'm Steve. I'm like, great. I mean, I'm like, can you make me mezcal margarita? I'm like, yeah, sure. How do you like it, on the rocks or, you know, straight up? It's like, on the rocks always. And then, okay. And I turned, of course, India didn't have mezcal that time, so I turned behind, and there's like a huge back bar at EO. I'm like, how exactly does a bottle of mezcal looks like? And Michael's like, just make the way you make it. he'll gut it down and say you're a great bartender. And he exactly did that. He came back to the bar in a minute, he got it down like bottoms up, and like, that is an amazing margarita. Although it would have been a shit margarita, but the amount of respect he had for this silly bartender to fly on his money to Singapore just blew my mind. And I was like, crazy.
Son of a bitch, man. This guy's a good storyteller. I ain't got that. I ain't got shit. Well, that's interesting that you say that, because you just referred to yourself, I was a little bartender, I was a small bartender,
Right.
you know. How come the attitude is like you're sort of self-deprecating, you sort of put yourself down, you know?
I mean, I'd like to point it out to the way hospitality is built in India. It's either I'm here to serve you or I'm here to get served. Right? It's just like that. So
Very intense relationships.
yes, I mean, it's very simple bifurcation of your jobs. And for me, when we talk about how things came up, it is like, it takes a lot of time for people to realize that you're not here to please somebody, but you're here to please your guest or who you're serving. And if you do it right, you probably grow faster the career. Mm-hmm. If you do it probably the stereotype way, it's gonna take you a while. I won't blame you for that, but I mean, you're also a part of the system.
Earlier on, you mentioned that you were still a student, so you were studying in bartending school.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, bartending schools in Europe are a little bit looked down on because we think that they don't teach you any real skills,
Right.
right? But here, it's like they're a big thing. There's a lot of bartending schools, and you just now mentioned it the stereotypical way. So, can you tell me more about what do you mean by that? Like, do you have to do bartending school, or is it like a requirement, or?
It's not a valid requirement technically, but probably people who cannot afford 3 years of their career doing hotel management,
Right.
or people who can't afford to pay for the degree, probably go to a bar school at maybe 1/10 of the price.
Wow.
And just learn the basics, because they know they're going to go work at some bar to start with, because
And bars look at this. They're like, have you done bartending school?
yeah, I mean, you don't have a hotel management degree, so the next best thing could be a bar diploma of sorts. For Indians, bartending is very experience based. So if somebody would have not been educated in that segment, would still make a good bartender, but would have taken a bit more longer, or taken the right career path. But like,
So bartending school actually helps you, like genuinely helps.
Yes, to initialize your career, it does help you.
How much is a bartending school course here, and how long is it, or
Depends. So
how much did you pay?
It was free. It was part of my curriculum in the hotel management college.
Okay. This fucking guy, he got a hotel management, so.
So, but yeah.
But do you know, like?
Yes, of course. We at Cocktail Dreams also have a bar school.
Yeah.
And we approximately charge about 40,000 rupees.
Which is 400 euros?
Yes, for a 6-month course.
That's
Yeah.
That's not bad at all.
But we also give you an opportunity to, study for 3 hours every day at the class, and then work at Sidecar or Speakeasy. So you make that 40,000 back in 6 months.
Right, so that's amazing. So you actually get a job experience, on-the-job experience, where
Yes.
you get paid.
Yes.
So the money you invested, you sort of get back as
Getting
well.
back, yes.
You are one of the few that has never left India, right?
course.
We spoke about this a lot. And so what's your mindset there? How come you didn't leave? What are the local guys thinking? Where is their ambitions? Where do they want to go? What are their goals? What are your goals?
So probably the reason why I did not leave India, and a lot of my generation bartenders are not leaving India, is because now slowly bars have, like, we have great owners like Mr. Lama, of course. They've realized that a good bar guy is really important for the business, and they don't mind shelling the extra buck for it, right? And
So money is definitely a big driver for these people who left, sort of thing.
Of course, yes. The people who left, I think one of the biggest reasons was, of course, money, better diversity. When it comes to, you get to see a new culture.
What do you see are the biggest barriers for Indian bartenders? Is it salaries? Is it opportunities? What are they?
One of the biggest problems, of course, is the population.
Yeah.
There's so many people that to be known for something, it is a big journey.
So a lot of competition, sort of thing.
A lot of competition, right? And this is about anything, not specifically bartending. But then when you get into bartending, first of all, our consumer is now getting traveled. So now he knows probably a bar in Munich which serves a great Negroni, probably the bar in London which serves great martinis and stuff like that. So they try that and like, oh, you know, Connaught is #1 bar. I've been there. But they do martinis, so probably martinis are cool. So when they come back to Delhi, probably won't even like the taste, right?
The consumers
won't like the taste, but just because it is cool, we'll have it. And that is exactly what gave rise to this revolution, the Negroni revolution, right? Like, India is a sweet and sour palate.
Sweet and sour.
India is never a bitter palate. And how the hell did Negroni got famous here, right? Just because it happened globally. A couple of years later, it happened in India.
So trends take a longer time to get here. So it's almost like, as a potential problem or barrier, since we're talking about problems, is the fact that it's a super local, consumer-driven trend thing.
Yes.
As opposed to bartenders dictating trends. But if they're bartenders, they're not locals, they're the ones somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, it is also that way. The bartenders also try to dictate trends. Like, we do dictate some trends because it also depends on the places you are. Like, probably at Sidecar is where people come and ask, you know, what bourbon are you going to use in my old fashioned?
Right.
Okay.
Brand calling.
Yeah, I mean, okay, you use X bourbon. Why do you use that bourbon? Is there a reason behind it? Look, people ask, which is great because we are kind of one of those couple of bars who are kind of educating people on what they should drink, because if you're probably going to spend 1,000 rupees on a drink, you would want to make sure it's good.
So, well, moving away from sort of issues or whatever, what do you see as the next step? What's the next future? What do you see everything developing?
Definitely the point where, you know, we're now getting on the list, we are getting globally a bit more recognized than we were earlier. A lot of people are going to come to India. A lot of people who are very, very well known in the beverage segment are going to come and going to spend some time with us to understand our culture, our cocktails, the styles of consumer, the type of bars and stuff. And then we will probably have a very solid image of India, like how we probably now have for Hong Kong or Singapore or Dubai. And once we have that is when we will, the guys who would be running the bar show then should generally realize, you know, this is what has worked for us or this is something which has not worked for us. You know, do you want to get a roto app and do all the mad scientist stuff, or do you want to stick to what you're good at, probably classics, probably classic twist, whatever you're good at, and do you want to do that? And when that one sort of imagery is formed of the country is, I think, that's where
So in other words, correct me if I'm wrong, what you're saying is that having the freedom of choice, and you're hoping hopefully this list might help as well with that in sort of establishing India as an international player.
Right.
Anybody want to shout out? Anything you want to talk about?
I think I want to touch base on that part where, you know, what would be my end goal.
Yeah.
Probably my end goal is, I look at myself and really passionate about bartending, beverages, and being hospitable to people. So having said that, I'm really passionate about that, and that is something which wakes me awake every morning, right? So I want to probably be the Giro Ono or an Alessandro Plazzi or a Yang Duplama of Indian bartending industry.
Sort of in the future.
Yeah. So probably when India becomes the global dominator for cocktails, I'm probably alive and there to cheer for the country, because such a big country and it feels quite strange. We are good at everything apart from, say, beverages, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So it feels quite strange, but that's because not a lot of people have worked towards it, or probably have worked but had to stop at a certain point.
Yeah.
Right? And I personally think that I would not want to stop till we get there. And I would love to train a lot of people and mentor people to, you know, be in this zone. And
but what I like about this, like, if he succeeds, man, I can go watch this space, this young chap, this young kid, and then I look great when it happens. So, like, if it fails, we just never talk about it.
Archive the video. Right.
Well, this has been Bar Talks. We managed to sit down with Rohan and discuss everything about we can about India, and especially the community. If you guys have any more questions, do not hesitate to give him a shout out. Give him a message, comment below, and I highly recommend that you guys at some point make your way out here. And I think this is one of the few people that can make that happen. This has been
Big
Bar
words.
Talks episode, I don't even remember. And we out. Thanks, brother.
Cheers.
Take it
Thank
easy.
you.